Happy Spooky Day. As this is the last day of October, we look onwards. We look at November for the new fantasy and sci-fi releases, releasing in the next month. Starting super strong on November 11th, we have The Inevitable Ruin, Book 7 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Now, if you're new to the channel, I occasionally mention this series. That's it right behind me. I like it. This is by far one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Now, of course, because this is book 7, we cannot go over the synopsis, so we will go over the synopsis for book 1, and then you can decide if you want to read this series. But the answer is yes, you do want to read this series. It's really good.
The apocalypse will be televised. You know what's worse than breaking up with your girlfriend? Being stuck with her prize-winning show cat. You know what's worse than that? An alien invasion, the destruction of all man-made structures on Earth, and the systematic exploitation of all the survivors for a sadistic intergalactic game show. That's what. Join Coast Guard vet Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, as they try to survive the end of the world. Or just get to the next level. In a video game-like, trap-filled fantasy dungeon. A dungeon that's actually the set of a reality TV show with countless viewers across the galaxy. Exploding goblins, magical potions, drug-dealing llamas. This ain't your ordinary game show. Welcome, Crawler. Welcome to the dungeon. Survival is optional. Keeping the viewers entertained is not.
This is a lit RPG series, which means it has some game-like mechanics. Once Carl and Donut enter the dungeon, they have a certain level and skill set, and they can improve that by either getting new items and loot or just training with it over and over, and it levels up a bit like a game. This is a bizarre, very funny, absurd series, but I don't think the synopsis does a really good job of really hinting at this darker undertone that comes in the later books. It definitely becomes more... Carl becomes more cynical and very struggling with the fact that he has to kill other members of humankind just to survive. I could talk about this series all day, so we'll cut off there, but Book 7's coming out November 11th. Also coming out on November 11th, we have The Witch Queen of Redwinter. This is the third book in the Redwinter Chronicles, the first being Daughter of Redwinter. Again, because this is the third book in this series, we will look at the synopsis for book 1, and then you'll decide if you want to jump onto book 2, and then onto book 3. Rain can see, and more importantly, speak to the dead. It's a wretched gift with a death sentence that has her doing many dubious things to save her skin. Seeking refuge with a deluded cult is her latest bad survival-related decision. But her rare act of kindness, rescuing an injured woman in the snow, is even worse, because the woman has escaped from Redwinter, the fortress monastery of the Drowen. Warrior magicians who answer to no king and will stop at nothing to retrieve what she's stolen. A battle, a betrayal, and a horrific revelation forces Rain to enter Redwinter. It becomes clear that her ability might save an entire nation. Pity she might have to die for that to happen. I've been meaning to check out this series for some time. I do have the first book, and the covers are absolutely stunning. And also this idea of battle magicians in this sort of fortress monastery. It just sounds really cool. So I'd be interested, if you have read this book, what did you think? Might be a good time to hop into it, seeing as it's coming up to the winter season. Coming out on November 12th, we have The Navigator's Children by Tad Williams. This is the fourth and final book in The Last King of Austin Ard, the sequel series to his Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy. Now, Tad Williams is an icon in the genre, so it's really exciting to see his sequel series being wrapped up this year. I'm not 100% sure if you need to have read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn before you start off the Last King of Austin Ard series. I think you probably do, but I'm not sure. And I have been very excited to pick up the Dragonbone chair, especially seeing as I got this edition recently from the Broken Binding. And oh boy, is that art stunning. But I know Johan over at Library of a Viking loves this book. And who doesn't love a huge, sprawling fantasy epic series? So Tad William fans, watch out for The Navigator's Children coming out November 12th. Also, coming out on November 12th, we have the Lotus Empire, the third and final book in the Burning Kingdom series, the first being the Jasmine Throne. There seems to be a lot of sequels coming out this month, so we will go over the synopsis for book 1, and then you'll decide if you want to continue on with this series. Imprisoned by her dictator brother, Malini spends her days in isolation in the Hirana, an ancient temple that was once a source of the powerful, magical, deathless waters, but now is little more than a decaying ruin. Priya is a maidservant, one among the several who make the treacherous journey to the top of the Hirana every night to clean Malini's chambers. She is happy to be an anonymous drudge, so long as it keeps anyone from guessing the dangerous secret she hides. But when Malini accidentally bears witness to Priya's true nature, their destinies become irrevocably tangled. One is a vengeful princess seeking to depose her brother from his throne. The other is a priestess seeking to find her family. Together, they will change the fate of an empire. Again, it's a very similar situation where this is really popular. It's been out a while, and it's been on my TBR for quite a while. It sounds very interesting. It does lean into romantasy as well as high epic fantasy, so if you're into some romance with your fantasy, definitely check out this series. And just recently I did go down to London to go see John Gwyn's event for his release of Fury of the Gods, and Tasha Suri and James Logan were part of the panel, and Tasha was really awesome, so I want to read her books even more now. So was James Logan, but I've read his book and it was great. And of course, John Gwyn was awesome. John Gwyn. And coming out on November 15th, we don't have a sequel. We have a first book in a series called Memories of Tomorrow by Noah Isaacs. Now it wasn't a book I knew about until I was researching books for this video, and someone very kindly suggested it. They read an ARC copy and really enjoyed it, so that got me intrigued. For years, Arim has felt that he was cursed, as if his very being was wrong. Some say that seeing isn't always believing, but for Arim, however, nothing could be further from the truth. Fated to a life of catastrophe and ruin, the visions that plague Arim's sleep always realize themselves, even when they depict his loved ones dying gruesome deaths before his eyes. Now, years after he's watched everyone and everything he had ever known burn to ash, Arim finds himself with his sole remaining companion, Jasper. Lost and without purpose, they bide their time until the inevitable comes, when Arim is warned of their imminent demise. Yet even now he doubts if he is strong enough to combat what's to come. With little hope left for him and his friend, Arim resigns to go far to the south, to the lands where magic is as common as war, to where he might get answers, and, if he's lucky, strength enough to gain control of his life. Memories and prophecies guide them on their path to salvation, but the past is lies, and the future speaks only in tragedies. Is it truly a blessing to know what's coming, even if you're powerless to stop it? It has been a while since I've read a book with sort of this foreboding prophecy type trope and setup, and this one sounds really interesting, also tied in with this quest, going south and learning more about magic. It just sounds like it would be a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a new series to check this out on November 15th. On November 19th, we have what might be the best title of a book this month, which is The Fate of Silent Gods by Scott Drakeford. This is the second book in the Age of Ire series, the first being Rise of the Mages. And I do really like that cover. But again, because this is a sequel, we will go over the synopsis for book 1, and then you'll know if you want to continue on to book 2. A young warrior and his improbable band of allies face impossible odds as they seek to rescue his brother from servants of the fallen god. Amriel Ire is a student of war with lofty ambitions. Despite being so poor, his boots are more whole than leather. He and his talented younger brother Ban work hard to build themselves a better life at the Citadel, a school that specializes in both infansory crafting and military arts. Their lives are upended when the power-hungry Lord Governor of the neighboring province invades the school with the help of a sinister sect of priests devoted to the newly awakened fallen god of glory. Many of the infansory crafter students are captured, including Ban. Though Emrael stands little chance against the Lord Governor and his armies, He's desperate to save his brother, even if that means accepting the help of allies with uncertain motives, or becoming a practitioner of a forbidden magic. There is nothing he won't sacrifice to save his brother, but what happens when the cost of success is not his to pay? Reawakened fallen gods, you've got mages, you've got what sounds like it will probably be a found family type setup with this band of warriors trying to find his brother from this evil sect of priests who woke this fallen god. There's so much here that just sounds so cool. I really need to read this one now, especially that the sequel is coming out on November 19th. Also, coming out on November 19th, we have Red Sonja Consumed. Red Sonja, the iconic fiery she-devil with a sword, is reinvented for a new generation of readers in this action-packed epic fantasy by a legendary comic book writer, Gail Simone. The gusty, wild, tortured free spirit, forged in pain yet unafraid of life or death, Red Sonja, the famous fiery she-devil and barbarian of Harcania, has never concerned herself with the consequences of her actions. She's taken what she wanted, from treasure to drink to the companionship of bedfellows. She's fought who deserved it, and sometimes those who didn't. And she's never looked back. But when rumours start bubbling up from her homeland, rumours of unknown horrors emerging from the ground and pulling their unsuspecting victims to their death, and a strange voice begins whispering to her in her sleep, she realises she may have to return to the country that abandoned her, and finally do the only thing that has ever scared her: confront her past. So this Red Sonja seems to be quite a famous character. I don't really know anything about her. I think she used to be a comic book character. However, this is her moving into this new generation of readers, so I assume it's being reinvented slightly. But this sounds like a sort of badass character that's revisiting her past. And who doesn't love a badass warrior? However, if you do know more about Red Sonja, I would really be interested to hear in the comments below more about this character, because it seems to be quite a famous character. It's not really anything that I've come across in the past. And there is a really pretty edition from Broken Binding. So if you're into pretty editions, there's always that. And also, coming out on November 19th, we have The Last Hour Between Worlds. Follow a star investigator and her rival as they journey through layers of reality to save the world as they know it. In this whip-smart adventure fantasy about rival guilds, reality-bending magic, and unexpected mystery. Kembrow Thorne is spending a few hours away from her newborn, and she's determined to enjoy the party no matter what. But when the guests start dropping dead, Kem has no choice but to get to work. She's a member of the Guild of Hounds after all, and she can't help picking up the scent of trouble. She's not the only one. Her professional and personal nemesis, notorious burglar Rika Nunsuch, is on the prowl. They quickly identify what's causing the mayhem: a mysterious grandfather clock that sends them down an echo every time it chimes. In each strange new layer of reality, time resets, and a sinister figure appears to perform a blood-soaked ritual. As Kem and Rika fall into increasingly macabre versions of their city, they'll need to rely on their wits and each other to unravel the secret of the clock and save their city. What really caught me with this one is reality-bending magic. Just sounds really cool, and it sounds like it would be sort of like a murder mysteries, maybe a stretch, but that's kind of the vibe I get from this sort of really nice party, people turning up dead, and they're trying to figure out what's happening as they fall through reality itself. I need it now. And last but most certainly not least, on November 26th, we get Titanchild, the second book in the Talon duology from Jen Williams, who is also the author of the Winnowing Flame trilogy, so that's cool. I have yet to read Talon's Sister, which is the first book in this duology. However, it very much sounds like an underrated gem. The reviews are really, really positive, and it has one of the most unique setups I have ever read. So it is about this woman called Levin, who is a herald, which is this killing machine that's had her memories wiped through the process of becoming this killing machine. But now the war has won, she's kind of this washed up, doesn't have a lot going for her. Very kind of bleak outlook. However, it gets even worse when other heralds start dying off. This sounds very much like a sci-fi plot. It sounds really interesting to have this with a fantasy base. That premise has really sold me. I really want to read that now. That's the problem with doing these videos, as if my TBR isn't long enough. And over on the Discord, we will be reading Kings of the Wild as our November buddy read. So if you want to read that, hop over onto the Discord, link in the description, and you can join in the read along. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Hi, Ryan. Hyricania?